And we're live, I think. Yes. Yes, we are. There's a little red light. We're live. We're back. It's a Sunday episode. We're sorry we're late. That's my fault. As always, Ryder Kick, Joe Tonello, my cohort, Slam. I've just given up on trying to pronounce Mark's last name because I keep butchering it every episode.
Well, easy enough if you want to just, and I can get a cheap plug-in for my Twitter, but Mark W is fine, Mark is fine, Slam is fine. But tweet at me, Mark W. Slam. We're going to be doing live questions throughout the show. If you want to reach out, Mark W. Slam, just tweet questions or reach out in the Q&A. And if you're joining us live on YouTube and Google Hangouts, feel free to leave some questions, and we're going to try and answer those by the end of the show.
Yes, we got quite a bit of a show. We're going to try and do it as quickly as we possibly can. We're covering the PTC fallout from Atlanta, our adventures in topping as of late in 2 games. We'll touch on that other game because, you know, I wanted the site to cover 2 games, but it's mostly UFS now. But we'll also talk about the rise of Tennessee again for the 1, 2, 3, for the up something time. UFS is back in Tennessee again. We'll just go with that. We'll talk about that towards the end of the show. First off, Atlanta PTC. Mark, regale us with your tale of questing and fighting.
I got to I stayed with Matt Turner, ATL Piglet, for the duration of the trip to Atlanta, and I scrapped my deck that night that I got there. I actually scrapped it. I kind of thought about scrapping it like the day before I left. So I believe like Tuesday of the week of the tournament, I had scrapped my Vincent Gray deck. It just wasn't working. It wasn't testing well. Excuse me. I was losing to stuff that if I was going to win a Pro Tour, I couldn't be losing to these I couldn't lose to joke decks and stuff. So I went with what I knew. I built the Death deck. I built Vespera, who I've tested, and I've come close to playing Vespera at a couple of different events and kind of backed off of it just because it's very taxing mentally to sit down and play such a long game deck like that. So I had plenty of experience with the Death symbol with Vespera, so I felt comfortable throwing together a deck and running it just kind of on the fly, just running short notice. So I went ahead and ran it, and I did pretty well with it, I guess. I went 4-0-2 in the rounds, 4 wins, no losses, and 2 draws. Got to the top 8 where I was paired up with Ben Shoemaker. If you've never faced Ben Shoemaker's character, it's discard heavy, sets up and really easy access to momentum. He had a really cool deck too. He built off of air and attacked off of chaos, and it made sense. And it allowed him to do stuff like, for instance, he ran a really good card from Tides that's kind of was underplayed. It's starting to get a little more recognition now, though. But Deadly Precision, which is a Zoe card, it lets you respond after blocking a ranged attack. You can add the attack back to your hand. So, for instance, because he's attacking off of Chaos, he would block with Yambarai, which is Kyo's 4-4, which is 0 mid block, breaker 1, and he'd respond and pick that right back up too after he blocks with it. So it puts you in a really tough spot. And I got into positions where like I would have to cat force Deadly Precisions and things like that to keep him from just looping blocks on me. So eventually, and you have to play around the discard. You have to keep extra cards in your hand because you know you're going to lose cards. The most important thing, because I dropped game 1 to him, the biggest thing though was I had 2 Reapings in my sideboard, and being able to Reaping when he discards is really brutal. And Reaping's static effect is that when it's discarded, when your opponent's effect causes you to discard it, you grab 2 cards from your discard pile and add them to your hand. So he basically, and the way he's playing, he has to do it and just assume just hope I don't have a Reaping, and I did, and it let me pick up my kill turn basically. So I ended up beating Ben, and then we went on to top 4. I had to play Tim Keefe, and Tim Keefe is anyone who's ever sat across the table from him. He's an amazing player and does crazy math, and his battle math is second to none, and I think that's what sets him apart as a player, is that Tim Keefe's grasp of battle math is a whole different animal. And he played Joe Higashi off of all.
Do you mind if I jump in real quick?
Please do.
Big shout out, Tim. I used his build and tweaked it a little because I didn't have all the cards for Hobby League this week. Took tops, went undefeated with Joe Higashi on all. That was my big news.
There you go.
And it's all thanks to Tim.
Tim's deck though was really good, and as even for like people kind of preach the death of the seven-hander, and he disagrees, but I do think there is something to it. I think seven-handers are kind of in a rough spot right now. But his deck was what you have to do if you're going to be a seven-hander. You have to have a lot of defensive tools. You have to have stuff that's going to keep you from dying right away, and you have to be able to deal with stuff like Vespera. And he had a lot of answers for Vespera. He had targeted committals. He had a bunch of Kobukin trainings to stop the stuns. And he had enough stuff to give me a lot of problems. And I was really, and to be honest, I was kind of there were people that were giving me the speech. They had kind of counted me out before it ever began and said, well, top eight's still good. It's good. You do your best tomorrow, but top eight's good. It's basically assuming that, or top four is good. Assuming that I was basically just going to lose to Tim, and through the grace of God, I guess, I don't know. I ended up surviving and beating Tim Keefe, and had to go to the finals against Shaneth, and Shane was playing K-Dash, and K-Dash is absolutely nutty. And he's a really good player, playing probably the best deck in Standard right now, and just whooped my ass, and there's no two ways about it. I just got beat, and there's tweaks I've made and such, but there wasn't much I could have done in that matchup, even with the tweaks I've made. Sometimes you just lose, and like I got killed on like turn 3, something like that, and that's going to happen. Sometimes the decks just run hot. It's the best I've ever done in competitive UFS, though. Top 2 at a really stacked PTC. There was 37 players, which is crazy for a PTC nowadays. And it was a lot of really, really good players. So for me to get where I did, I'm really proud of myself. I didn't expect to. I figured I had something. I figured I'd probably top, or I could top at least. I don't want to say would, but I could top with Vespera. I didn't think I'd go as far as I did. So that was really big. And we were very, very close to me against Phil in the final, which would have been an amazing Michigan. Not even Michigan. It's 2FS house. It would have been me and Phil. One-on-one in the final would have been amazing, but dude, amazing stuff from Shane. He's probably the best player not on cardboard, so it's no offense to anybody, but he's probably, in my opinion, the best player that's not on cardboard. So it was losing to him. There's no shame in losing to Shane, so I'm okay with it, and I'll look forward to trying to get a rematch at Gen Con.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. You did that on purpose. I know you did.
I totally did it because I knew you were eating, so I was going to throw you a curveball.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. I am eating dinner at the same time as recording this. So professional. So professional.
We're pros. That's what we do. We drink water and eat dinner, and
And the water is totally acceptable. In fact, I'm sitting here eating pasta in the middle of our show. That's probably not.
Well, pasta's good though, so just give the people something there. Give them some food porn and just.
I'm sure there's an old Scott Gaines reference of my pasta we can throw around for a little bit. Anyways, we'll look at the deck now because it is a fantastic deck. Let me get it pulled up. That is not it. That's something I'm working on. And there we go.
I just see the prior screen, unless it's gonna catch up here.
It will in a second.
Okay.
There we go. Put the camera on me and close that one. We don't need out. Yes, close all the tabs. There we go.
Okay. And just bear with me here, Joe, because I'm doing this from the iPad as usual, so it doesn't adjust for the widescreen, so I can't read the foundations, but I'm going to try and go off just the top of my head. I tried a few different variants of this deck in the time I was staying in at Piglets between the tournament was on Saturday, so from Wednesday to Saturday I'd made quite a few tweaks and such to the deck. I did a couple things different from what I've seen in other decks. I don't run Mugshot at all. I ran I'm gonna just say it how I say it, Etoile Falante, but I've heard it's Etoile Falante or something like that. I'm not doing that. I'm sorry.
You're not French. It's okay.
It's America. It's Etoile Falante. But I ran that over Mugshot. In Vespera, especially if you have Kalantra, it's a 7 mid for 4. The first E puts a lot of pressure on them to block it. It's not something where they just go, all right, I'll eat the 4 of Mugshot. They really, Falante means, okay, if I have momentum, you got to block this. You really have to block this. Because it being able to just target, and it's targeted removal of a foundation in their staging area from the game. So it's really, really good, and it's good numbers. I like it quite a bit, and I actually in execution I like this more than Mugshot, and I know Mugshot's got a better block. It's a little cheaper attack, but I think this one I think it puts more pressure on, and as a whole I like Falante a lot more.
Now I have a question.
Yeah.
If you have the ability, I don't think you can do it though, so never mind. I was going to ask if you can do it. Do you do the combo ability? But I see you don't run any low attacks. Never mind.
Realistically, like, excuse me, I've seen this in some decks where it's not really about milling or the discard stuff. But if you happen to be in a position to get the combo, you might as well do it. But you don't really need to like set it up. You don't. It's not crazy enough for like, okay, I really have to hit that combo E. Like the only situation I ever think of where you would do it as like targeted is like if you need to get them to the end of their deck to make them cycle or something.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask.
That it would be very situational to do it. Like I'm sure that someone's at least tried the mill deck with Elizabeth. If you're gonna do a fun deck to mill, the best bet honestly, no, it's Duo. Duo's the best mill because his ability just removes from the game. But honestly, if you're gonna mill, don't just play Legacy, because I'm sure there's mill stuff in Legacy that's usable. Because standard, it's just not a thing. All right. Yeah, that's the thing. In the foundations, the big thing that I really got a lot out of, because the rest of the lineup honestly is pretty straightforward as far as the attacks. Widow, P-Touch, Sting Kick's really good. So there's nothing really crazy there. The biggest card really was that I started main decking Descent and Peaceful Messenger. In testing, I found that my biggest issues, the biggest things that really screwed me over, were Nailed It, because it keeps me from repeating my abilities on Vespera, so the speed redux over and over. And it's also targeted committal for foundations I might need, like they can form commit and commit penance with Nailed It. Just whatever foundation I need. So Descent was really huge in getting rid of. Did I add it to the list there, Joe? I can't tell.
You got Penance in here, but I don't see Descendant.
Okay, Descent should be in there. I probably just missed it when I was throwing it into UFS Ultra. Descent is a Red Horizon card. It's a 3/5 with a mid block. It's an E. Remove it from the game to destroy an asset. So I was maining 2 of those, and I sided an additional one for decks that are asset heavy. And it allowed me to deal with Nailed It for sure. Nailed It was a big one. If I saw it, the mirror match Kalantra could be trouble, or Lion Stance. There's a lot of good assets. So having some answers to that was really big. Peaceful Messenger was big because the other thing that really stopped me was throws. And by having it also counters Harnessing Chaos, but I didn't run into Harnessing Chaos. The big thing here though with the throws is that it's after you block an attack with this card, it deals no damage. So you block with the throw, the static kicks in, it deals no damage. And the other thing too is that it's sort of a universal block. If I block a low attack with it, the low attack does no damage. If I block a high, the high does no damage. So it's kind of a universal block, and I'm really glad I mained it, because I really do think it was really crucial, and I had a third one in the side. In tweaking it, I've gone up to 3 of these in the main board. I think it's that good, and it's a universal. The big thing is it's a universal block, and it also counters Harnessing Chaos. And the one thing I didn't realize, Keenan had to teach me this in Atlanta when I was there. Because the way it works, a static would kick in. So like say we'll go old school, pretend it's Maxima and he's still legal. The big kill would be like Harnessing Chaos, Maxima Laser. You play Peaceful Messenger and block the Maxima Laser. The static kicks in, the attack deals no damage. Then they would respond to cancel the block, but the static has hit. It's there. So the Maxima Laser now does no damage, period, whether they harness in Chaos or not. So it's a counter to harnessing Chaos as well. It's a really, really strong card, and I knew it was good. I didn't know how good it was until I started maining it, and I'm going to continue to main it. I think it's a really good card. Joe, I don't know if there's anything else that was really out of the ordinary. If you had any questions on it too.
No. I mean, you covered the Reaping. The Reaping's just not in the sideboard, but it's there. We know it's there. You mentioned it.
Yeah.
Mourning the Lost, fantastic card. Fool Me Twice. I understand why you ran 4 as opposed to the normal 2 that I keep seeing everywhere nowadays.
I think it's when I build a deck with, and I'll talk a little more about Fool Me Twice because this is a really good card. We tease Keith Disrow because he puts 4 copies of it in every deck, and honestly, like, I know we're teasing him, but I kind of do the same thing too. I put 3. I usually 4, honestly, but there are situations where I'll put 3, but it's usually 4. And what's good about the card, it's a hard counter to Moon, because if they Moon for a card, you just Fool Me Twice and put the card that they Moon for in the bottom of their deck. The other thing too is that, especially with Vespera, when you get to the really long games and where I'm at the end of my deck and I've got enough cards in hand to go for kill turn, you can use Fool Me Twice to yourself to, say, grab 2 foundations with 5 checks out of your discard pile and put them on the bottom of your deck and just stack your checks for your kill turn. Or if you're like I put myself into situations where I would put like attacks on the bottom of my deck and then Holiday Cheer at the end of the deck to draw 5 and draw the attacks that I had Fooled Me Twice. So there's a lot of ways to take advantage of this card.
Yes.
And especially in a long game. And the long game is where that card really shines. Like, it's good in general, but it really shines in a long game. And I think that might have been my MVP to a point. Left 4 Dead was another real good one that Phil kind of hit me to.
We actually really don't see Left 4 Dead a whole lot in decks.
It's really good. It turned the foundation face down, your reversal attack with a printed difficulty 4 less gets X damage, maximum 5. X equals a number of face down cards in your staging area. And the way that it works too is that Left 4 Dead itself counts too when you flip it. So if you even if there's no flip cards, if you just flip it over, it still gets 1 damage because the Left 4 Dead that you just flipped counts. So if you get enough of them in play, you can, especially if you have a longer string, you can put a lot of pressure on, maybe flip on each attack and give a damage bonus to each attack, or because that's the one thing I needed to learn, and I'm still working on it a little bit, is getting my pacing down as far as, like, if I play 5 attacks, which ones do I pump? And in testing, it's been more just kind of consistently pump. Okay, just put something on every attack, put some stank on every attack, and make everything worth blocking. But Left 4 Dead's really good, and against Ben Shoemaker, it was really important because it allowed me to recur blocks to my hand after he would discard stuff from my hand with the E-commit. The E-commit allows me to pick up a face-down foundation from my face-down card from my staging area and add it to my hand. So by having that, when Ben would discard my hand, I could, if I had a flipped over card, I could E-commit on Left 4 Dead and pick up a block. So it gave me answers to his discard stuff too. So it was a really good card. It was really helpful.
All right. Anything else?
A couple of things that I think I would change. For the sideboard, real quick, it was a 4th Moon. I attacked off of water. I built off of death. I attacked off of water, which allowed me to splash Moon because it removes itself. So that was pretty helpful. But the sideboard was 2 Reapings, Peaceful Messenger, a 4th Celestial Being, a 3rd Descent, and I think I covered all of that. I don't remember. 4th Moon, 3rd Peaceful Messenger, 2 Reapings, Descent, Celestial, and something else. I don't remember. But so the sideboard was pretty straightforward. It's hard to do sideboards for anyone who's, I'm sure a lot of you guys have messed with UFS Ultra. If you, like, for instance, for me I can't have 2 Descents main and 1 in the sideboard on UFS Ultra. It just doesn't let me. So I don't bother putting in sideboards on UFS Ultra because it's very difficult to get across. The other card that I just completely missed, and it was just honestly me throwing the deck together on short notice and not really thinking about it much. I didn't build the deck in UFS Ultra. I built it on Piglet's table at his house. So I didn't, I didn't look at these things, but I really wish I had Childhood Sweethearts in the deck. It's definitely going in the new tweaks. I'm on the fence about Trib still. I might put Divine Tribulation in there too, just for some muscle. But the big one is Childhood Sweethearts. Having that just hard speed reset, and it's not a true reset. I mean, it's -5 speed if it's overprinted speed, so it keeps your opponent from really doing any speed pumps. Because if they do, I'm gonna use Childhood Sweethearts and just crush it. So
yeah, I've been using that in almost every build I have now.
And I think it's a staple. I don't know if it's a 4 of staple, but it's at least 2 to 3 of staple, and I think on the symbols, it's just very good. It's a very good card. And the only reason it's not in here is because I honestly just forgot about it and built, like I said, built the deck on the fly. Lion Stance might as well have been 2 more copies of Cat Force. I don't think I used it for much. It was extra penances and extra Cat Forces, which is fine, and that's why I didn't run more than 2. I didn't really need more than 2. Kalantra is definitely more important than Lion Stance and Vespera. That's the card that really kind of keeps her from being Garrett essentially off of death. Like that's the card that sets her apart. If your opponent sees Kalantra in play, they have to wait to attack into you, or you're just going to rip them apart. And there were people that they maybe just didn't have the experience against Vespera, but if I have Paralyzing Touch in my discard pile and Kalantra in play, you don't want to attack into that on turn 2. That's not a good idea. So people were going at me on turn 2 and stuff, and it's probably just inexperience against Vespera. And we've had the discussion, me and Tim have talked about it on the show too, where people just don't run her. And there's been big tournaments I've gone to where there's one Vespera or no Vesperas. And I think it's a combination of she's hard to play as. She's not easy. It's a very long, you have to be experienced with a long game and be ready to play a very long game. And there's going to be some boring stuff. Me and Keith Disbro played Vespera against Angels. We had a time extension because we got random deck checked. And we played for 70 minutes to a 0-0 draw.
Well, yeah, and plus you also, at that point, Vespera also has kind of that stigma if you play, or if you're that guy playing Vespera.
You just have to make people earn. Like it's one thing if you're that guy playing Vespera, but it's different if you are running into stuff, especially when people tech for you and you still beat it. Yeah. That's when people take you seriously, and and that's why if I play Vespera and I go 3-3 and lose, then I'm that guy playing Vespera. But if I play Vespera and I do what I did, I don't think there's shame in that. I don't think Vespera. I don't think Vespera is as bad as K-Dash. I think K-Dash is stronger than Vespera, and I think Phil Birch is stronger than Vespera. But there is a stigma to Vespera, and that's fine. They can have all the stigma they want, but at the end of the day, beat her. And there are cards that tech for. There's Scorn Beauty, there's Out of Your League. Even stuff like Directing an Empire can just put a lot of pressure on me to have to do stuff because you can shut off penance. So the thing is that people weren't teching for her, and they need to be. And I never saw Out of Your League all weekend. I never saw Scorn Beauty, which is my card. It's a 2/4 that cancels a keyword, which can cancel reversal. So I didn't see people weren't teching, and when they did, it was targeted committal, and I had Celestial Beings. So it was there's counters to the counters and such. I don't think people tech for her, and they should. I don't think she's as crazy as, like I said, I don't think she's as crazy as Phil. I don't think she's as crazy as K-Dash, because I don't think there's a lot of great answers to Phil, and I don't think there's a lot of great answers to K-Dash. There are answers to Vespera. People just weren't running them, and I was really surprised, honestly. I thought my undoing as Vespera was going to be someone just running like Out of Your Leagues or Scorn Beauties, and just they didn't. And I got some favorable matchups, and I did fairly well.
You did absolutely fantastically. I'm so happy for you.
Yeah, it was tough, man. That's the best I've ever done. And but second place is not, if I hate to quote Ricky Bobby here, but if you're not first, you're last. So all I can do is just keep working on my game and go to Gen Con and hope for the best again. See if I get just as lucky.
Well, that's not too far away. We're a little bit under a month.
Yeah, we're about
No,
what,
actually, we are a
13th?
month.
Yeah, it is exactly a month away. It's the 13th, so is it 14th through the 16th, I believe. So yeah,
Okay, you guys,
I'll be in
I
India
gotta
already
be up
this time
there in
next month.
the 13th
Um,
because I'm
but
staff and I gotta help set up and whatnot.
Joe, you said you were that the Tennessee Playgroup is back and you had some
Ooh,
success this
yes,
weekend.
yes. We have news. We have news. Once again, as I said earlier in the show, for the upteenth time, Tennessee has come back, and we have a play group. We had a six-man tournament over at Grand Adventure Comics in Murfreesboro. Chris Pryor, who is a very good friend, he's a fantastic store owner, was nice enough, and this shows how nice Chris is. He gave us a table to play and a time slot to play in during a Magic base set pre-release. So he let us have a hobby league during a Magic pre-release. So that shows you that Chris is a fantastic guy. Uh, we had a six-man tournament. We had a fantastic spread. Some of the ATO players will know Jonathan and Tyrone from the previous outings over in Dixon when UFS was over in Dixon, Tennessee. Uh, they are still two unstoppable forces. They played their hearts out. Tyrone played Benny Maru off of air punches. Jonathan, whose birthday is today, so happy birthday, Jonathan, played Vincent Gray. We, of course, had Paul Taylor. You guys know him as that guy in the glasses that sits at Gen Con and runs Gen Con for us every year for Worlds. He played that the promo mature, the seven hand size one that mills herself.
She's good. And I don't know if she's like a Gen Con character kind of player, but she's fun, and I've seen some cool stuff with her with like Fire in the Hole and Trib, and like there's some you can do some interesting stuff with that character.
Let me think. She was off Evo, I think. We, of course, had Simon Taylor. The only other person other than Mike Lowe that shall be known as the boy. He was running, I believe, Evil Alice. One of the local Dixon guys, Devlin, he ran a very complicated deck. He didn't have a deck on him, so I loaned him one. I think I gave him an overly complicated deck. I gave him Death Ash, the discard deck that I've been working on secretly, not so secretly anymore. I think it may have been a bit overly complicated for him. He did well, and I sat and rocked with Joe Higashi. We will hopefully be expanding our play group. We have two more people in the wings. They unfortunately could not make it that first one. Our next hobby league, we're only going to be, for those interested in Tennessee, and I know there's got to be some interest somewhere, because we hit Hastings. We have a Hastings in Murfreesboro, and they were totally sold out of the Mega Man tins. So someone in Murfreesboro has those Mega Man tins. Had something finished downloading. And we will only be running hobby leagues twice a month because Chris needs the space and whatnot, and that's totally cool. The next hobby league is in 2 weeks on Saturday the 2nd in August. There will not be a hobby league that third of the month, which is 16th, because obviously we'll be at Gen Con, but we'll be picking back up the 23rd, and we will be going from there. It's a fantastic time, guys. It's a $5 tournament. The place is fantastic. It's just good local fun, and we miss it. We're so happy it's back. We're so thankful that Grand Adventures is hosting us, and I can't praise enough. I actually put up the deck that I ran. As I mentioned earlier, it's based off Tim Keefe's Joe deck. It's got some tweak because obviously I am card starving here, so it's not going to have all the fancy things that Tim had.
Sometimes it's just about being resourceful too. So if you don't have something, find an alternative.
Oh God,
Especially
yeah.
if it's a new play group and such too, where you won't necessarily have all the stuff you need.
Well, luckily the guys had enough stuff to where they had their own decks.
Hmm.
But I still had to loan them mine because they don't have anything past um, Red Horizon. I was in
Yeah,
the same boat, but thankfully Mark graciously gave me a whole crap ton of stuff, and I was able to make quite a bit of decks.
got to keep the game going, man.
Oh God,
If
yeah.
there's no players, there's no UFS. So anything I can do to help.
So quick rundown: Tiger Kick, Shoryudan, Power Wave, Zing. I don't have Kaplow, so it had to be Gallant Defender. I of course have Zealot Rushes because, as I've said in the earlier shows, my sister did the drawing, so I have the card. UFS House, I got those off somebody. I don't remember who it was, but I got them at a Gen Con, and I've been hoarding those ever since.
That's a really good card. I for the longest time I thought UFS was UFS House was rotating, and then I realized, oh no, that's 6 point.
Yeah.
So there's decks that I was leaving it out of that I would actually have put it in had I known. Um, I didn't realize it was a 6 point. I thought it was a 5 point. So UFS House still good, still an amazing card. So run it.
Foundation-wise, Two Fool Me Twice, Inhuman Weapon, Dauntless Hero. I was lucky enough to when Jason was demoing uh, Mega Man before the tin's out, but he had the Proto Man and Mega Man demo decks. He gave me the Proto Man and Mega Man demo decks because I was helping them out when they were in Nashville. So I have some Mega Man stuff, just it's only Mega Man and Proto Man stuff, and it's not the full tin stuff. Clandestine Research, Kapoken Training. This made some people mad because they would go for their combo, and then as soon as they would play it before they even got the combo to the enhanced step, I would blank everything.
I usually I usually run this as a 3 to 4 of staple. Garrett has told me in the past that real men run 4, so I started running 4 in most of my decks. It's really good.
Former rivals, self-proclaimed legend. Unfortunately, I'm not as tech savvy as Tim. I did not get to reversal and commit someone's character on their own turn. It'll happen eventually, though, I'm sure.
And that card's really good. It put a lot of pressure on me in the matchup against him because with Holiday Cheer, do I want to give him momentum and then give him targeted committal on Vespera? Like it, Self-Proclaimed Legend's really, really good, and it puts a lot of unique pressure on your opponent to have to play around it. So it's a really good card.
I was mostly using it for its gender male enhance.
For Joe especially, yeah, you'll use it for that. If you were facing Vespera or something, it would change. But in matchups, if you're not facing something that's going to crush you defensively, you can just kind of use the gender male E and just use it to keep fueling his ability.
Getting a ride, that actually screwed some people over because they would play that one attack where the throw goes down to 1 damage, and then I put it back to its standard damage, and they lose. I put in Unheard Voice. I mained it because I needed the blocks.
And it's not a bad card at all, though. I mean,
Yeah.
it's asset hate on the symbols, and the E commit actually is really useful, especially, and you can use it similar to how I was using Fool Me Twice. E commit, choose 2 cards in your discard pile and shuffle them back into your deck. If you want to do math games and just put foundations in to try and improve your chances of checking well, if you want to just improve your math, you can do it. Or if you're at the end of your deck and you want to stack your checks for the attack you're launching, you can do that too. Unheard Voice is pretty good. I don't have any problems with that being main anyway.
I was mostly using this whenever I would check a zing. During the hand step, I would put the zings back in the deck.
You could, or if there's like a certain card that you're like, man, I really need to draw this, or you've blown through all your Templars, or it just as an example. I know there's not Templar in this deck, but like.
Yeah.
If it's situationally, like if you're like, well, I need maybe I'll draw some Templars, which is what Tim Keefe did to me with I think he did it with Fool Me Twice though, but maybe he did it with Unheard Voice. But it's you can put stuff in, no, he did it with Unheard Voice, and he put a couple of Templars into his deck and he drew them. So it's a really useful card. There's a lot of good stuff with that.
Third successor, this actually got me the win several times because they would do targeted committal, and some of the guys didn't realize what third successor did. So they would commit it, and then it's like, well, okay. Then I would Shoryudan or I would Zing and then pop it, and they weren't realizing that it was playable while committed till it was too late.
It's a good card, and there's certain decks like the form on it is more useful for stuff like Takuma or certain combo decks where you need to just throw an air order card into the card pool. But the E on it, I mean, use it just anything playable while committed just means all right, pass a check with it and then do whatever you need to do. So it's not bad at all. I think it's a pretty good card.
It was mostly just to help out in battle math because
Yeah.
I would put 3 things in their card pool. I would start them off with almost nothing in their card pool. Then I would actually be putting things in their card pool. So against, I think it was John, I'd put up to 4 cards in his card pool.
Yep.
And then he kept changing everything to low with Joe
Mm-hmm.
because in this
No one blocks
rotation
low.
format, well, it's not that no one blocks low. This is Tekken.
Yeah.
No one blocks low in Tekken.
Yeah.
Low blocks are just so sparring in the standard format that it was just a smart play for me to do, I think.
Yeah, I mean it's tough, and that's why like the low blocks are so sparse right now that people are running 4 copies of Naivety Index and stuff like that, the 1/5 of the low block from Mega Man, just to have low blocks. So I get it. It's tough. It's hard out there for a pimp right now. So if you want to have low blocks, you got to work for it.
For Sibling Rivalry, I just like this card. Again, it's tech against throws, and also more fuel for Joe and a low block, because we just discussed that low block.
It's not bad. The Eon is more important than the static because the hard part with the static is that the best throws right now are spinning Necro Driver and Lunar Catapult, which can only be blocked by mids anyway. So it's limited in its scope. But the Eon in particular is the big one. It's going to let you keep fueling Joe's ability, so you can keep re-readying things. Joe is pretty nasty.
Then Kaioken Disciple, because there's very little speed pump in all right now. There's some, and there are better ones in this, but I needed a little bit more high blocks. And I do realize I was running against other people that could potentially build quicker than me, because I like to be very aggressive in this deck, so sometimes I'll toss out 1 or 2 attacks before I even throw down a foundation. So that'll let them build quicker, so I'll get a +2/+2 until I catch up. So it wasn't that horrible.
I don't love the card. I get it, but like I think with the way that the deck works too, you can just kind of overwhelm them. You're gonna be able to change the zones on people. Just pick your zone and kind of throw at them. I don't know if you necessarily would need it, but it's if you're low on high blocks, I mean you could do a whole lot worse too. So.
Well, I mean, that's also kind of a placeholder, and yes, I was low on high blocks. There are only 8 high blocks and 8 low blocks in this whole deck.
Oh gosh.
So.
That's pretty rough.
Yeah.
The one thing I would do, just looking at the deck, if I just from what's here, I would just swap. I would swap Kokugen Disciple with Perfect Accuracy and just main Perfect Accuracy for them.
I didn't have as many perfect accuracies as I thought I did.
Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, it's,
they were in my Kyo deck and my Benny Maru decks that were being demoed. The Kyo was being demoed, and the Benny Maru was being played, so I couldn't pull them out at the last moment.
Understandable, and that's just a pointer for anyone who's maybe newer watching this. Don't ever not run 4 of Perfect Accuracy. I don't think you can run. I think you have to run 4 if you have them. Just run. I don't all 3 symbols. If you have it, run 4 of. It's 2/5 of the high block and an amazing ability. So just run it if you got it. Just do it. You're missing out if you're not.
Sideboard is the perfect accuracies because I don't have them right now for Kaioken, so I just stick them in there to remind me. When you come across more, put more in. 2 Scorn Beauty, and 2 Directing an Empire, because my play group right now, I really don't need to main Directing an Empire, but as they get better, this will more than likely find its way into the main deck.
Directing an Empire to me, and we had this debate. I was in the IRC chat randomly at work because I was working hard. We were debating about this card, and I think it's a little different for All in Order, but I think just for air, I legit think it is the best air card. Period. I think I think it's the card that air decks need to get to like turn 3 and 4 when they can really just start ripping people to shreds. There's not a lot of great turn 2 air decks, but this is the card that's going to get you to where you need to get to. It's going to take out whatever their answers are to your stuff. It's going to take out whatever they have to kill you. So I think Directing an Empire is an amazing card. It's different in All in Order where there's some other stuff. On air though, I think you have to run it and I don't stray from that usually. It'd have to be something very specific for me to not play it. I think it's incredible. I think Perfect Accuracy and Directing an Empire, especially off of air, are the two best air cards.
Yeah. And like I said, Perfect Accuracy will go in the deck when I can stumble across some more, maybe.
Understandable. And if you don't have it, you don't have it.
Those
Yeah.
starters at Gen Con, because those will be there to be bought anyways. No one picks up the Sport Ninja Man anymore.
I don't think he's horrible either. I think people are a little too hard on him. There's some interesting stuff. You just can't die. Like don't. Yeah, the hard part is just trying to not die, and that's where Satoshi struggles. Is just if you don't have like Tenbatsu really early, or like if you're playing off air with a bunch of Directing Empires, it's going to be rough.
Scott put it to me best in a phone call the other night. The moment you miss a check with Satoshi, you're dead.
I don't think it's totally true. It depends on your build, and you have to see the right tools. You have to have either Tenbatsu, or if you're playing off of air all, you have to have Directing Empire really early, or you're just going to.
The other problem is that he's not 20; he's 18 health, and that really does make a world of difference sometimes.
It can. I think part of it is people are just doing the worst thing people can do with him is try to build around Jigoku Banishment, because Jigoku Banishment isn't good.
It's not. It's a trap card, people.
It is. It's not good. Just run there. If you've got him, just run Sagaki's or something. You're better off. But
now I think while we are talking, Satoshi, we might as well bring him out that way people can look at him. I think his time just hasn't come yet. I think his time will come when the little stuff comes out, because the little stuff fits those pieces that he was missing in his arsenal so much better than what he already had.
Honestly, I don't think it is, I think the problem is 18 life, and even if you're void Satoshi, even with the Lilith stuff, you need Tenbatsu like turn 1. If you don't have, I would, to the point that I would mulligan for Tenbatsu, because it's the only thing that's going to keep you alive off void. You have to be able to shut down their kill like early, because you'll get turn 2'd by anything with a good enhance. Iori would just run you over. At least, and this is why I think that the Lilith stuff it's cool ideas, and it does fit in theory. But the big thing here is, I think that the only way to get him to work would be like you'd have to go off air all, and it has to be like 4 Directing and Empires, a bunch of Templars, Tenbatsu, and just stall until you have some weapon kill turn. Probably, and you probably do it off air, but it's like that's the only thing I could think of to make him really not just get murdered. It has to be every defensive card you can possibly pull out: Champion of Muay Thai, Templar, Directing an Empire, Tenbatsu, and don't get murdered in 2 to 3 turns.
Now, we did actually have, as soon as I can get it pulled up, we did have a deck request, and it looks like they actually deleted the deck. Well, crap.
I emailed you. Were we going to talk about? I believe this was Billy we were talking about, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, this was the Lilith deck that one of my local guys built and wanted our opinion on. But I guess they saw the error in their ways and deleted the Lilith deck because it's no longer up.
Well, someone I think decided to troll us and asked us to build Billy Kane decks, and
yes. God,
I don't know if yours is there. I sent mine. I emailed you the link too. I don't know if you got
mine.
Mine
is. Give me a second. We'll boot up both of them.
All right, we'll bring up.
They're horrible decks.
They're horrible, but we both took stabs at Billy Kane, and randomly Billy, he's pretty bad, but he's not Promo Clark bad. Promo Clark, I think, is the worst character ever. But
this is how bad Billy is.
Billy's pretty
bad.
bad.
The actual title of the deck is Billy's So Bad.
He is pretty bad. Yeah.
So give me a second. Go ahead and start taking a look at this while I go track down
And
yours.
I'll kind of talk about Billy just a little bit too. I think with Billy and me and Joe both kind of tried some different stuff with Billy. We both went with all because you kind of have to. I think the big card here, and you'll see it in both of our decks, is Denkin, which is the Shen attack that if it's not blocked, you draw 2 cards. So that's a good pressure card. I think you have to kind of run a bunch of weak attacks and then have a big power attack. That's why you'll see a mine run 3 Kaplows. You have to have something, fill up their hand with BS and then attack them. He's not the worst character, but he's pretty close to the worst. He's not the
No,
worst, but he's pretty
honestly,
bad.
he's not the worst character. We've seen worse. The unfortunate part is that Billy only has had one good incarnation of his. I don't know how many times he's been printed. Look, because
Um,
Billy does not have a wonderful track history.
the other character for me that was kind of in that boat when I remember from back in the day was I'm a big fan of Geese Howard. I have my Predictable Geese Howard T-shirt and everything. I love Geese, and both Geese. There was 2 builds of Nightmare Geese, or 2 characters, prints of them, whatever, and they were both pretty bad from what I recall. They revolved around like 1 checks and stuff, which was really janky. Turned your 1 checks into 3s or something. I don't know, but. He was really bad. Promo Clark's really bad. I was trying to think of some of the guys I like that are all really horrible. Hugo was really good, but he's one of them's banned and one's still hanging out there in Legacy, and I have him built for Legacy finally. That was my first Legacy deck I built on my own, and yeah, he's really good, but I can't play that until it sounds like they're gonna be doing Legacy and Extended at PAX East in Chicago. So we'll
Really?
see how that goes. That's the word. Is that PAX? I don't know if that's for sure or not, but that's what I've heard through the grapevine.
Huh.
Um, is that PAX East is going to be having Legacy and Extended? I don't know if that's 100%. This is me just going from what I hear through the grapevine. So, I that's the rumor, I guess. So.
I don't know what's up with UFS Ultra right now. It's being kind of wonky. There we go. Okay, so Billy Kane has been printed a total of 4 times. Of those 4 times, only one Billy Kane is actually decent, and that was his Fortune and Glory incarnation, because he had the ability to block and then take a foundation and turn it into a reversal attack on the spot with some pretty decent stats for Fortune and Glory times as 2 difficulty, 4 speed, 4 damage mid, which wasn't bad. And at the end phase, you could commit him and ready X your foundation, where X is the amount of your momentum. That's the old Billy. That's the good Billy. Current Billy we have now is really not that good. Not at all. He's 4+ check. Your attack deals 2 or less damage. Your opponent adds a foundation from the staging area back to their hand. That actually could potentially be helping them, because they could just pick up something they've turned face down. You put it back to their hand, that means they get to play it again, and it's face up again. And then you've got Enhance, commit 1 foundation. Your attack with a printed damage of 2 or less gets multiple 1. So, I mean, I sat there and I thought about it and thought about it and thought about it, and I went through UFS Ultra, and the only thing that has enough 2 damage printed 2 damage attacks is all. I mean, literally, I sat there and went through all of the modern stuff, and it only all had enough. So my deck it's a horrible deck, people. I mean, there's no way you can build this dude well. You just can't. It's like playing nothing but a game of footsies. Bad footsies.
Like really bad footsies with like John Candy in that movie, anything or Nothing But Trouble. Like it's bad. He's one of those characters, and this is my issue with certain promo characters and stuff. This just word to anyone who does design. If you're gonna make a really complex promo character with some very specific ability like Billy's or Promo Clark's, don't make him promos. Just have support that makes it useful because like he's borderline unplayable. So is promo Clark was the same way, pretty much unplayable. If you're gonna have something very specific, make it a character that's gonna have stuff to support it. Like if you release a character with a very specific ability, but there's nothing to back it up, then you've got a very bad character, and that's all it is. And that's what Billy is. If there was a set of support that gave some 2 damage attacks and gave some sort of benefit to the number of cards in your opponent's hand or something, it's some reason that would kind of work with him, it'd be good. But he doesn't. There's nothing, so he's just a really bad character. But this is a character that would benefit from support.
I mean, he does have his Bojutsu arts, and we'll get to that in just a bit. But
yeah, we'll talk about that one.
The rundown is we got Kuga, we got Blitz Shuriken, we got Rapid Mega Buster, we got Zanretsuken, and we got Danken. Asset-wise, we got Red Triangle, Green Triangle, because seriously, that was the only thing I could think that he could take advantage of, really. Even UFS House and Zealot Rush, because I'm not going to Zealot Rush to re-ready him.
No, you're not.
I'm not going to UFS House to do anything for him. So Red Triangle, Green Triangle just lets me get me a free draw card and potentially a control check hack out of it. Literally, that's his best asset. Thankfully, he can run through it down, but
it would screw up his ability, though.
Yeah, it screws up his ability.
So there's like Throw It Down's a nice card.
Throw It Down actually can work with the second ability because you're printed damages too. Well, so you'll still get that multiple one.
Yeah, the idea is
we're stretching it, guys.
We're really reaching. The idea here is that you're gonna have to hit him, especially if you're gonna go just stick with the theme and run a bunch of 2s, 2 damage attacks. Like you got to hit him like 40 times. Like kill Goro. Excuse me, kill Goro with this deck. Like go for it. It's bad. It's hard times out there. That's rough.
Foundation, made for speed, Mourning the Lost, Fool Me Twice, Inhuman Weapon, just for that first attack, Champion of Mutai, third successor, Kapoken Training, Self-Proclaimed Legend, Perfect Accuracy, his only support card, Bojutsu, which we'll look at that.
Let's talk a little bit about Bojutsu arts. The E commit on it is actually alright with your attack with the printed damage of 2 or less gets 4 speed. That R is, oh my god, that R is horrible. After your attack deals 2 or less damage, add a card from your opponent's discard pile to their hand. Why in the hell would you give them a card from their discard pile and put it in the hand?
The only reason I can see them doing this, and it doesn't even make sense.
Sure.
Is so that if you give them attacks, they can't moon next turn. That's it.
Or you can fill up their hand with foundations and hope they don't attack you, I guess. But that's a bad. That's like, was it Judy Bloom? I think it was like the terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day or whatever.
Yes.
Like, that's a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad card. That card, like that R at least is really horrible.
Now, Bojutsu with Zanretsuken or Daken.
Yeah, I like it with Daken a lot.
Zanretsuken is actually pretty good because with Billy it's multiple 3. So you can discard a card and give each of them +2. If you get enough Bojutsus out, they're going to come at 7 mid 4 damage.
The only thing I would add to this build with the heavy multiples would be just 4 copies of Andrew's card, Living with Determination, just so you have the momentum.
I forgot that Andrew had all on that.
Yeah, he's got all on it. So that would be the one ad I would make if you're going to go if you guys want to go like a multiple build and do it. That's probably the way to go.
And directing an Empire because
good card. Good card.
You can afford to lose life because you're probably not going to be playing Billy, so you just want them to get it as quick as possible.
Let's just get this game over with. The self-burn deck. We're just going to burn. I'm going to keep burning my own life. All right. Screw this game. I'm done.
Sideboard, Sibling Rivalry, Unheard Voice, and Astute Observer.
Yeah, two more cards that burn yourself so you can get the game over faster.
The hilarious part is that the UFS Ultra gave this deck a deck stability of almost a 2.
Is that good?
Yes, the higher the percentage, the higher the numbers, the better the stability for this deck.
You can tell my UFS Salter knowledge when I go, is that good?
But
He's bad. He's so
he's
bad.
horrible. All right, let's look at yours.
All right, I gave it the college try.
Give it a college dropout try.
Yeah. Oh, I know what that's like. The I personal life. I ran 22 bad checks. I went Denkin Kuga, Antisalis, which the one thing I do like about Antisalis, it fits with the theme. It does 2 or less damage, and it lets me grab another attack. And I run a whole bunch of attacks that are super cheap. Ice Slam, which is a cheap multiple. Rapid Mega Buster, Kuga. So there's cheap stuff in here, and then I have Kaplow eventually. The idea would be that one of these days I'm going to fill up their hand with a bunch of stuff and get it to where they can't block the Kaplow. But it's hard out there, man. 3 Templars to try and not die too fast, and then if I'm going to lose, at least let me lose on turn a few turns later. Foundations, there's no saving this one. Clandestine, I guess, is good, and it's the general all stuff, Trained by the Streets, and Perfect Accuracy, Bujutsu Arts. I draw enough stuff for making a killing. Making a killing is specific to certain decks. There's some decks that just aren't going to run it. When people could take advantage of it with their character abilities, that was a different thing. But with especially with the errata, there's certain decks that can do it. This actually is a good making killing deck. You can respond off Mourning the Lost. You can hit it off Dankin, Templar. So there's quite a few things that take advantage of the extra draw from it. So living with determination was good too.
By talking about Billy Kane, people.
Yeah, we did what we could. So whoever you are whoever the sadomasochist is that asked us to do Billy Kane decks,
we'll find you at Gen Con.
That's what I gotta say. No, I keep sending deck requests to us. I mean, we're joking. Billy Kane.
We're not. He's horrible.
I'm saying we're joking. I'm okay. Keep sending us deck lists. We're just, we don't hate you for sending it. Billy Kane's just bad, so we did what we could. Don't murder us if you try to take this to your weekly and get stomped. So, all power to you.
No, that's it.
No, that's it. I'm done with. Forget this guy.
Away with you, Billy. Oh, we actually have people watching.
Works for me.
Shannon said the R-on is amazing. You give the foundations or useless actions to clog their hand and limit their options.
That's kind of what I figured too, is that the R was more for clogging their hand. But I don't. 95% of the time I don't want to use that R. That's just me though. Maybe it's from my lack of Billy Kane experience too. I'm sorry, I don't play enough Billy Kane.
I mean, looking at it that way, I can understand clogging their hand prevents them from drawing on their turn.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. If you're worried about them just mowing you over.
And Matt, do you want us to build Gutsman for you next week? Because we can do it.
Did we get a request for Gutsman?
I think we did. Matt Hughes.
Oh, Matt Hughes wants a Gutsman. Yeah, we can do Gutsman.
We can do Gutsman.
Sure. We'll do Irving Gutsman next week. Oh, no, what was his? Phil's gonna kill me. Phil has named all of the Robot Masters. I know he's an MD. I know he's got he's an MD.
MD heavy arm.
Gutsman's an MD, but I don't remember his first name. I'm gonna catch so much like this, but yeah. Anyway, Gutsman MD is going to get represented then next week. We'll build it for. I don't know. We'll probably do a show Thursday. So we can get the Gutsman together by then.
Oh yeah. And after that one part that no one really cares about, but I did promise that we will talk about it because again the show was originally supposed to be about 2 card games, And then I brought Mark on. It became about UFS.
Because I only know one card game.
We'll make this super quick. I've just been doing really well in Cardfight Vanguard. I've been playing a football deck, Spike Brothers. I've been rushing people down. I've been living that Michigan motto of YOLO on everything, because that's all that deck does is YOLO every turn. Turn 1 YOLO, turn 2 YOLO, turn 3 YOLO. You don't win on turn 4 when you YOLO, you lose the game. And I've been very fortunate with the deck. I went to top 2 and drew because it was like 11 o'clock at night, and then the following week I made it top 8. So it's a good thing. I will at some point make the deck list and post it up on here. I'll actually just have to type it out because Vanguard does not have a really, really nice deck viewing system like UFS Ultra. But yeah, Vanguard is happening for me. It's happening well. I want UFS to continue to happen as well as Vanguard, but you know, do what I can.
I know nothing about Vanguard, or I'd contribute. I'm sorry. I literally muted my mic and drank water because I just don't know the game. But if I've tried to do other card games. I mess with Hearthstone. That's easy enough. But that's just an easy. I got 20 minutes to pass on the iPad, so here's Hearthstone kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's more why I played. It's just easy for the iPad. But UFS wise, I'm trying to think if there's anything else we needed to cover. Did we? I don't know if we talked much, but Darkstalkers is delayed.
Yeah, I was trying to just avoid that because
we'll go real quick. I think we should at least say something. It's not going to be legal for Gen Con, so any of the Darkstalker stuff that we revealed, get ready for probably Michigan Pro Tour will be the first event with it, which should be the end of September sometime. I'm going to put a little poll out here, too, for anyone that may be thinking about it. Assuming that we do another Michigan Pro Tour at the end of September, do people like, if we had like a night out, like a bar night, maybe like the Saturday after the tournament, would people prefer a bar or a club? Dance club, like music, or like food and beer? And comment on that, too, and that'll help me with trying to figure out some more Michigan Pro Tour plans. So, but hopefully end of September we'll bring back the Michigan Pro Tour, and it should be good times, and that'll probably be the first event where Darkstalkers will be legal. So it's a bummer. Jasco, it's not gonna be on time anyway. But hey, who cares? Gen Con will be great. We're a month away. We were talking about this before we went live. Gen Con is literally a month away. It's today's the 13th, so it's a week from tomorrow is the start of Gen Con. So or a month from tomorrow is the start of Gen Con. So
you guys can find Mark in the players floor. You guys can find me over the Jasco booth. I'll actually be working and demoing. I may be on the floor, not playing, but maybe possibly running the drafts. So.
And you can find us doing a live episode of Total Justice Gaming from Gen Con one of the nights that we're there, too.
Maybe.
Oh, no, there's no maybes. We're doing a live Total Justice Gaming. With or without you. I'll do it. But it's going to be good times. Anyone who's on the fence about going, just go. Come on. Like, it's Gen Con's amazing. I'm actually okay with it's a bummer that they're not doing Legacy because I finally built the Legacy deck. But from a scheduling standpoint, I think we're going to, as a whole, people will get to enjoy the con a whole lot more without Legacy there. So 4 days, 4 events, and it's the events will all be like half-day things so that you have a whole another half of the day to really kind of enjoy Indianapolis, which is an amazing city. I like Indianapolis a whole lot. It's got a great downtown, lots of stuff to do. So it's going to be good times. And Rift Tracks Live Godzilla is on the 14th, so I'll be going to that live in Indianapolis as well. So there's a lot to do.
Live over in Indianapolis?
Well, not live. It's going to be they're doing the simulcast, but I'll be going to the theater, one of the local theaters, to see the Rift Tracks simulcast of Godzilla.
Oh, we were totally doing that one night.
I'm totally going. It's the Thursday night of Gen Con week. So if you guys are there,
that's a plan for me and you right there.
We need to. That's one of those things, though. If we're going to do it, you got to book that way ahead of time. So we'll figure the rest of that stuff out off the air. But there's a lot to do. So if you guys get a chance to travel, and I say this whenever it comes up, travel. It's the you get it's like a bug. Like I was 50-50 on traveling, but when I did it for the first time, I was hooked. I had to travel to everything. Now I travel constantly, Vegas and Atlanta and New York and Indianapolis, and there's no way I'm missing Gen Con, and I can tell you right now, there's no way I'm missing Vegas this year either. So um, it's one of those things. You just get this bug, and you have to travel. And UFS is like it's like the jelly on the toast. Like if you got just really good like rye toast, and you like that's your traveling, and then you have UFS, which is just really good grape jelly on the rye toast. And I'm sure that people have differing opinions on jelly, but I've been rambling about jelly for 2 minutes. Anyway, is there anything else you had to cover, Joe?
No, just we'll see everybody in a matter of a month.
Yep. Real quick too before we go, like, comment, subscribe on YouTube to Joe Tonello. Follow me on Twitter, Mark W. Slam, and you can submit your questions for the show through there or through the Q&A Google Hangouts page live. If there's anything you want to see on the show, you can also reach out to us on Facebook. And I think we've covered all the plugs too.
Yes, and I will be keeping everybody updated in the near future for how well UFS is going in Tennessee, because it has its ups and downs, as you've all noticed.
Keep the hope, keep the dream, keep it all alive.
Oh, yeah. All right. Thank you for the two guys that are joining us. We will get this and the prior to the PTC episode up. It's going to be what I call a double strike, double impact episode, where it's 2 episodes on 1 page. Mostly because I've been lazy and delayed, and then the Darkstalker stuff happened, so this episode got preempted for the Darkstalker review, so that's what happened there. It happens. All right. We will see you guys next week.
Thanks,
Have
guys.
a good rest.
Salud.